Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it right now is 16:49. Just a pre-claimer, just a pre-thing before we get into today's video is that today I've been eating like 2 eggs. That's pretty much it, so I'm really hungry. I'm recording this before lunch, and as you can see, this isn't like the nicest shirt ever. That's because I'm in a bit of a laundry crisis right now, because you see, last week I was supposed to do my laundry. However, I took all my stuff, walked all the way to the laundry room, and when I was gonna log in, or so to say, because we have like a login booking online-ish system, I was gonna log in, and it just said like, you have no laundry time, and I was like, oh, what? What happens now? So I had to book the next one, which was, today, a week later. So I'm back on my laundry for with 2 weeks. So that is why we're working with this as we are. Plus that, all my mental faculties aren't in sync yet. Why? Well, because I've basically just eaten breakfast today and skipped all the other meals. Why? Well, because of stress and because of, following a schedule. All of them stuff. I don't even remember. Did I say it was 16:50 around there somewhere, 10 to 5? Oh my days, this is gonna be an interesting episode to say the least. But what kind of episode is it? Well, it's your favorite show. It's the thing that everybody has been waiting on the entire week. What am I saying? What are you hearing? It's the SNR Saturday News Recap, everybody. And I believe it's week 12? Is it 13? Yet again, I'm in the clouds, you see. Anyway, mates, and I had some couple of different things that I wanted to take up. I'm just gonna mention as well, if the camera is a bit off, if something in the room is a bit off, more than me, so to say, that might be because I filmed something recently, right, that I hope is going to come out today, tomorrow, or in 2 days, something like that. Which I thought was hilarious, right? But I had to use the camera, so it might be in a different spot, it might be a bit different, a bit weird, so just tell me in the comments below if there is anything weird about it, right? But as I was saying, we're moving into the SNR, and I have a rather, 1-2 articles-ish, depending on how you see it. They're tackling the same kind of issue, or the same kind of thing, and then we're gonna move into some stuff about me, because you haven't heard enough about me yet now, haven't you? Yeah, exactly. Good. Whew. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is gun control in the US. Quite a controversial topic, and I know that I've stated my opinion on the matter before, and I'm going to say yet again, if you're new to the channel, if this is the first video you watch, I'm just going to say that I'm a Swede, so cultural caging, keep that in mind. I've been living in Sweden, I've been growing up in Sweden. We don't need gun control because people aren't allowed to have guns. It's that easy. Maybe hunters are allowed to have some form of guns, but they try to make legislations and regulations towards that as well. So it's basically just the police in my country that's got guns, which I think is very sane. You see, I don't think it's good that people are running around with killing machines in their hands. Because just imagine, right, that it's one idiot, because that's all it takes. Because you're usually saying, the people who are for gun control, or for guns, they're saying that, oh, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And you're just like, yeah, that's true, but still, if you have one idiot, the one that's gonna use the gun, that person is going to be able to unalive a lot more people than if this said person had a knife. Depending on creativity and stuff like that, of course, but in general, I would argue that that is the case. Anyway, so there's been this unfortunate incident in Florida. I think that is why this is the repercussion of it, and there's been marches all over the US, as I've understood it, people coming together and saying that we want some form of gun control. Why? Well, because we're not living in the 16th century anymore. The Second Amendment, it's all good, it's all fine, probably in theory, but just as my opinion and my take on religion kind of needs to be updated. As any of you will know if you've been with me the last couple of days, as we've been talking about Pride pride and envy and stuff like that. All the 7 deadly sins in religion, all fine, all good that they're existing, but they need to be updated a bit. And yet again, when it comes to pride especially, because I feel like the Second Amendment, whatever it's called, you know, the piece of paper that they refer to that nobody's actually really seen, that some old dudes, they put their signs on, and all of a sudden it's more, you know, important than religion is, or what's up in the US back there. You know, I'm a bit unsensitive, but I think I'm allowed to be, right? Because we're talking about something that's so bloody obvious that, like, don't let people have guns, you know? How hard can it be? Anyway, so they're having this piece of paper that they're really happy about, yeah? They've been signing, they've been saying, okay, guns are okay. I don't even know where I was going with this. Yeah, exactly, pride. So I feel like this is kind of a pride thing. The principles that I'm allowed to have a gun. You know, my what you would say, my freedom, or my I read it somewhere. It was so bad of a comment, but it was something like along the lines of, my rights don't stop where your feelings begin. And I was like, you stupid I mean, I really don't want to say that sounds stupid, but to me, yeah, keep in mind, my opinion, to me that sounds a bit strange. Because, sure, politically correctness can get in the way of some discussions. So, we can't just, you know, go towards everybody's feelings. I get that. However, totally disregarding them when someone is making a well-constructed argument in an article, and you just be commenting and saying, well, my rights don't stop, you know, your feelings start. In the context, right, it looked so dumb. Or rather, arrogant is probably a better word, yeah? It looked arrogant, that's what I'm trying to say. But, of course, I haven't even introduced the article that I was talking about. Well, I quite recently read on the BBC News that this march was going on. But before I read it in the BBC News, and before I confirmed it with The Guardian and the New York Times, I was actually looking at it from another source of information, which is in the, I don't even remember what the article was called, because you know, one of those things that you click on Facebook. I'm gonna try and find it, right? It's on Rhett and Link's Facebook page, I think, because one of the two in the comedic duo of Rhett and Link in Good Mythical Morning, by the way, you probably know about it. You know, if you've seen this with my 25 subscribers, you've probably seen Good Mythical Morning with their more subscribers. Yeah, they're kind of a big thing on the internet, on YouTube, or on the internet, by the way. Yeah, internet overall. And Rhett, then, that is one part of this comedic duo, wrote an article that I'm yet again going to try and find, so it's probably going to be in the description below, where he wrote about gun control and his take on it. And they were stating that there, and I was really wanted to talk about this because I was like, wow, this is an interesting topic. This is an interesting piece of news that somebody in the YouTube community has done, even though they're generally apolitical in their channel, right? Or generally, they are always apolitical. But as he was stating in the article that he wrote, and I assume that somebody proofread it right before he was actually giving it out and distributed it, so I can imagine that the other people on their teams, let's say, were along with the same lines, or were on the same lines, let's say. And they were talking about that this is kind of an issue, right, with gun control and stuff that transcends political views. Because it's something that shouldn't be a matter of if the right or the left wins, so to say, but rather that, well, maybe we should have a sustainable gun control law or something along those lines, no matter who wins the election. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Doesn't that just sound brilliant? And I was like, that is so true. It was such a good, well-structured article with good arguments, using the English language in a beautiful way, simultaneously as it was plain English, so that everybody probably could pick it up and understand it. Simultaneously as it told the story, it connected to the viewer. It was magnifique. But I wasn't sure that, like, well, it's just an article, right? And it wasn't in any form of medium that I was particularly I was gonna say fond of, but that's not the case, because it was more like I didn't know about this medium before. I think it was called The Medium or something like that, by the way, when I think about it. But now that I saw that the BBC also commented on it, I was like, aha, now we can talk about it in the SNR. Yes. So I didn't actually construct this video as of before, and, you know, raw footage, okay, I get it, but, you know, usually I go around and think about these things. But it's something that I feel that I'm a bit involved with as well. I know that I don't live in the country, so, you know, my opinion, I'm just an outsider looking in, right? Take my opinion, take my perspective as that, as is, right? I'm not someone who's lived in the US. As I've said before, I've been there once for 7 days. That's it. And I couldn't tell that there were that they were able to have guns there because, you know, nothing happened because there weren't idiots there utilizing them in the wrong way, right? Which is basically the problem that everything boils down to. That, well, if we have one idiot that runs around with a gun, should have been better if that person didn't have a gun to run around with to begin with. Wouldn't that be true? And I would tend to agree, which is basically the entirety of gun control and making it harder to acquire guns and stuff like that. But simultaneously, on the other hand, some people are saying that, well, if we employ gun control, then it's just going to be a black market flood of guns that we can't even control. Isn't it better that the government is selling it so that they know who is owning a gun and so on and so forth, so that even if something happens, they know who owns that gun? Arguably, yes, it's a well-constructed... I get the argument, totally. But isn't that a bit of a conspiracy thing? That if they stop doing it, someone else would supply it? You know, the market, demand and supply. I agree that if the government, let's say, doesn't supply it, then the market will. And that will probably be in the course or in the form of a black market, let's say. And that isn't good. But maybe that you need to be able to find a good in-between there. So you can still give out guns, but you can do it in a better way. Or that your police force can fix the black market in some way, for shape or fashion. Anyway, I'm not here to actually solve the problem, because imagine, mates, just think about it. If I were able to solve every problem, I probably wouldn't do this right here in front of 25 subscribers. I would probably be on TV accepting the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Unfortunately, that isn't the case. I don't have the answer to these problems, which is a bit unfortunate, because I would like to. Imagine everybody just being friends. I mean, how hard can it be? I mean, really. I think this is just a question of, you know, common sense. Yet again, outside person, you know, outside perspective looking in to this debate. I haven't lived there yet again. Hedging over and over again. So I don't really know what it is living with this, and I don't know really what it is living with that. Or rather, I only know what it is living without guns. And I enjoy it, right? I enjoy Sweden, what can I say? Even though I kind of blame it, or I kind of clunk down on it from time to time, I think that this is a brilliant country, yeah, with common sense in the steering wheel, which is good. Anyway, in the article that Rhett was writing then, he was taking up a lot of different points of view. One, for instance, was that he was himself a gun owner, and still he thought that, you know, marching is kind of a good thing, because it was also, what you were saying, meeting the criticism of that people were saying that marching doesn't mean anything and marching won't, you know, have any effect. And he was saying that, well, you can only look in the history books for that to be wrong, because you've seen in the history books that, you know, marches tend to actually do something. One can say in Berlin, for instance, with the techno and stuff like that, bringing people together, love and prosperity, and actually showing that HBTQ community some support, and lots of those stuff's happening. Stockholm as well in Sweden. Anyway, I'm drifting, but I'm gonna leave the article down below, both to the BBC one and the Rhett McLaughlin one from Rhett and Link. I hope that I pronounced that correctly and that it was the right name. Otherwise, this will be a bit embarrassing, now won't it? No, will not. Anyway, keep in mind, 2 eggs in, right, in me day, and I've been going for like, what, 12 hours by this point? So, keep that in mind. I'm gonna tell some things that have happened with me as well. Just give me like a second to actually remember what has happened to me this week, because I imagine that I wrote it down. Yeah, the yellow editing thing in iMovie is back. This is actually kind of a good one, or kind of a big one. Wow, people okay, you can probably turn off the video right now, yeah, if you're not interested in editing lines in iMovie, because that's probably what I'm gonna geek out about the most, and I can't even geek out about it because I don't really know how it works, which is unfortunate. Okay, so to summarize it, in iMovie, if you have a clip and you split it, or you add another clip, you can like if you drag them close to each other, there comes up a yellow line saying that now they are connected. If you drag it over, you can drag it in over the other clip or not to the clip at all. But it kind of helps you a bit with saying that now you're close to the clip, they are in together, there's no dead space in between. However, for some reason a while back, like 2 or 3 weeks back, I accidentally untoggled the function or something along those lines without even knowing that I did it. So I was like, where's the yellow line? Which made me need to like scroll in and manually put the different clips close to each other, which the yellow line otherwise provides you with, you know, the help, the support. It's probably just to command something on the MacBook, but still I didn't find it, right? And I was trying to Google it, and I was like, where is the yellow helpline? How do I apply the yellow helpline? It's probably called something that I don't know. Anyway, it's back now, and it's helped me tremendously, especially since I'm working with 2 double feeds and having them on top of each other and actually, you know, working with all of that. It's amazing to have this. No, sorry, I mean, well, not sorry, I was right. I mean that I have 2 different files, I would say, in the editing process, and then I have the structure as well that's going to be here, right? I have this and I have that's over this clip, so to say. It's hard to explain, especially with me who's not technically inclined, right? It tends to be even harder if you're not technically inclined. Anyway, mates, that is back, and that is like /D editing time down by like, again, a good 25% less of a time that I need to invest in the editing process. And now I'm down to like record and edit and upload in like what, under 120 minutes, like 100, like 1 hour and 20 minutes, something along those lines. I need 2 hour maximum per day to do this, which is amazing because it makes me be able to work on other projects simultaneously and work on my thesis that takes up 95% of my life and my, you know, awake time. Which isn't the best. It's not optimal, but it is what it is. Am I right? Anyway, now I'm going to run away and fix my dishes, and then I'm gonna clean my entire room or my entire apartment actually, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Saturday night. Am I right? Am I right, people? Anyway, mates, that was everything for me today from the SNR, and we're going to get right back in there with the evil project tomorrow, when I've hopefully eaten and I'm not as hyper because of low energy levels. Yeah, something along those lines. Strong finish there. Yeah, strong finish. Anyway, have a nice one, mates. I'll see you.